fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today for this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, W-I-P, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever you are working on and mark alongside while I chat. Or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast and just listen while I chat. Today, I'm going to be working on my Everyone is Welcome Here kit. This one is a square. It is a lot of color blocking, and not gonna lie, this one's a little bit of a challenge for me. You would think this would be like the super easiest one. So let me zoom in to where I'm gonna be working, and I will be right back. All right, let me start off with my regular life. And also let me start off by saying this may be very rambly today. I don't exactly know what I'm gonna be talking about because I usually make notes and kind of keep track throughout the week of things that I want to remember to share with you guys. I don't know if this week was just not as busy as usual, if it was busier than usual, so I didn't remember to write things down. I don't know, but I don't have very much written down, so we may be going off on lots of tangents. Okay, what do I want to talk about first here? Life update. I found out I got to have a background check, which I should have realized, but just didn't, for the volunteering that I want to do. So that'll be interesting. I mean, they're not going to find anything because we just moved here, but I don't exactly know how to go about it. I guess I just go down to the police station and be like, hey, I need this. What do I do? So I think that's what I'm going to do. And this kit, there's so much black, which is okay, but color blocking is not my favorite thing. And I knew this kit was going to be a challenge when I got it, but yeah, it's definitely being a challenge. Okay. So I have to go get the background check done. And then we got in the mail, which I am horrible about remembering to check because we don't get mail at our actual address. Instead of having a communal mailbox, we have a box at the actual post office. But that means we have to remember to go and check it, which I am admittedly terrible at. I never think about it. Maybe if I got out more, I'd remember, but I don't. Hubby is usually the one that goes to check on it when he goes to feed his dad, so I just don't think about it, like I said. But anyway, we got a registration for the car that we bought when we moved here for the registration renewal. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've already been here long enough that we need to renew the car registration? That's crazy. Because it makes it feel like it's been so much longer than it actually has, just because I'm assuming they do it by last name here the same way they do it in the States, because it's due the same month it would have been due if we were still in the States. Which is a question, I guess. Does every province do it by last name alphabetically? I don't even know if all the states do it that way, but when I was in Kansas, that's the way Kansas did it. So when you change your name, when you pay your tag renewals changes, which was nice for me when I got married because I moved up quite a bit. Mine used to be in like September or October, and now it's closer to summer. So not that that's neither here nor there. And it's not as expensive as I thought it would be either. So I guess there's that. But I'm also of the, as soon as I get a bill, I want to pay it, even if it's not due for a while. So we got it, but it's not due until, I think it was like 60 days from when we got it. So I said to my husband, I want you to go pay this. And we were debating whether or not we want to actually go in and do it and have to wait in line at the DMV, or if he just wanted to do it online. He decided he'd rather go do it in person, which I thought was crazy, but whatever. I'm not doing it. I would have just paid it online. He left to go do it, and then he came back before he even got out of the driveway. This isn't due until next month. Yeah, so why are we paying it already? Because it's due either way? What difference does it make whether we pay it now or a month from now? I guess it makes a difference to him when he goes to stand in line, so he wants to put it off for another couple of weeks. Maybe I'll just go do it. A little foray by myself to go do some of those things that I used to do in the States, just to get used to everything. Goodness knows we spent enough time there when we first moved here to get everything done. Anyway, I just thought it was weird that it doesn't feel like we've been here long enough for that. And again, it hasn't been a year, but it just, having to renew the car registration makes it feel that way because that's something you do once a year, and now we're having to do it already. We also this week went out and bought some new porch lights. Hubby and I were looking at the porch lights, and I don't know if it's because we're close to the water, so the salty air or whatever. I don't know how old the lights were, It looks like they were covered in some sort of black vinyl and it just started flaking off. And it was like this really kind of weird white gray plastic underneath. And it just looked really bad. So I said to hubby, let's go get some different lights. I don't know what kind, I don't know where, but let's just go get some different ones because these don't look all that great. So we decided that we were going to get new lights. There were two different ones outside, and we went to we looked online first and looked at several of them to decide kind of what we wanted. And we bought some new ones. They're black. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing as the old ones, again, because of the salt air or whatever, but I like them. I think they're pretty, so I'm happy with that. And it's been warm enough that we've been doing some stuff outside. I finally planted my sunflowers, so hopefully here in a few weeks or so, I will have some pretty sunflowers in my front yard to look at. We went out to cut down. The people before us had Christmas lights wrapped around the tree in the front yard. And so I've been bugging my husband. I want to get the lights taken down. They just look ratty. They're all kind of wrapped around and they've been there out throughout the winter and everything. And they just don't look like they work anyway. And so I said, let's just take them down. So we get out there and my youngest came out to help and we're like, they went up so much further than we thought. And it turned out to be not just one string of lights, but three different strings. And they all had different bulb sizes. So I don't know if they just kept adding to them year after year, but it was super windy when we were out there. And so my husband didn't want to put up a ladder and we couldn't reach any of the rest of it. So we're like, okay, we'll just wait because they want to unwind it and everything. And I'm like, why can't we just like cut it into pieces and then you can pull off the pieces, which we could have done, but not without a ladder to reach some of the higher branches. And it was too windy for him to get up on a ladder. So that project got put off for another day. So we're slowly marking some things on off our list. We have like it looks almost kind of like a street lamp in the garden. There's a little area that the people before us had a dog, so they have like this little garden yard area for him. And it has this light, and the light was on a timer. But same thing with the like porch lights, the outdoor lights on the house. They were, I think, at one time black, but now it's this kind of white, faded white, almost gray color. So we want to clean it all off and then try and spray paint it with like Rust-Oleum or something and paint it black again. So that's a project that we need to do. And I've decided I'm not going to cut all of the vines and everything off of the fence. We have a chain link fence around the little garden area where they have their dog. And it has this big vine growing over it. And I originally wanted to cut it off, but now that it's in bloom, the flowers make a nice kind of barrier to the neighbors. So I think we're going to leave that where it is. But the same kind of vines are growing up on the side of the shed, so I definitely want to get rid of those because I don't want them growing into the parts of the shed. I never understood that about people like having ivy and stuff anyway. Hubby also did a few turns with the new riding lawnmower. He's so happy that he got this riding mower. Again, no idea if my brother-in-law just wanted to get rid of the old one and buy a new one, but it works just fine. So he was super happy because he was able to do the whole lawn in basically one go instead of having to wait for the batteries to recharge for the other mower, the push mower. So he was happy about that. So pretty stoked that we didn't have to pay for a brand new riding mower because that would have been more money than we wanted to spend. Although hubby has since taken that as, well, we didn't spend the money on a mower, so now I can buy a barbecue. So he's been out looking at grills to see what he can find and what he likes. I still need to go do some clothes shopping. Most of what I bought is sweatshirts and sweaters that I brought with us. And I really need some t-shirts and shorts, and I need a new pair of shoes. I've been wearing my good pair of walking shoes, but the youngest and I have done enough walking that I really need to get some new ones. Hubby bought a new pair for himself off of Amazon, but I have small feet, and so it's kind of hit or miss whether or not when I order the same size shoe from a different brand, whether or not it's going to fit me. So I prefer to buy my shoes when I can try them on. I mean, I suppose if I bought them through Amazon, I could always send them back, but then I got to order a new pair and wait. And if they don't fit, it's just easier to go try them on, even though I don't like shopping. This color has been fun for my eyes because the color is almost exactly the same color as the tray. So Just feels a bit weird when I'm working on it. Okay, is there anything else I wanted to tell you about my regular life? I don't think so, except for home, back where my daughter is, had some pretty nasty storms this last week. I guess it was actually last weekend. So Sunday night and then Monday night and part of Tuesday, they had all kinds of wild weather. No tornadoes, but lots and lots of rain and hail. Other places had some tornadoes, but they got so much rain so quickly that they're now, at the beginning of the week, they were all under a flood advisory warning. The city where we lived had floodgates. The town used to flood regularly all the time, so they actually put in some big levee doors that they now close when it gets like that, which is good because then that town doesn't flood, but also bad because the people who are in the town downriver from there get even more water, so they flood regularly. It's a smaller town and they just don't have the enough people to afford to put in levee doors. Anyway, I called my sister and asked them if they survived the storm, if their power was out, because hubby's all about watching the weather, seeing how many people are out of power. And so he was telling me that a bunch of people were out of power. So I called my sister. Oh no, it was only off for them for like a couple of hours. So they had power when I talked to her, but they lost part of their fence in all the wind. Because I think they said some places in Kansas had clocked 100-mile-an-hour winds, which we always joke about because you get wind gusts of 50, 60 miles an hour on just regular days in Kansas. But 100 miles an hour is pretty darn windy, so my sister lost part of their fence, so they're going to have to get that repaired. And I had called and talked to my daughter that Sunday night, and she was like, no. And I said, make sure you've got everything charged up because she has a battery backup thing too. I'm like, make sure you have that charged up in case you lose power. That way you can charge your phones and iPads and whatever else you need to. So she did that. And then it was supposed to be bad again on Monday. So I called her on Monday and said, again, it's supposed to be bad. You're under this flood warning. And she's like, Mom, I'm spending the night at one of her friends' houses. So she wasn't even going to be home. And I was like, okay, well, now that I don't have to worry about you, I can go to sleep. So she ended up spending that night at her friend's house, which was nice. So I didn't have to worry about her because her friends have a basement. So if there's a tornado or something, then they have somewhere to go. Because her apartment does not have a basement. I don't even know if there's a shelter anywhere close to her. So I was super happy that she was spending the night with friends. And it turned out to be nothing. Nothing happened. She didn't lose power. Everything was fine. So just hard being that far away when stuff like that is going on. And she's old enough to handle it. But I'm her mom, so I worry. That's one of the things I was happy to see here when we bought this house is that we do have a basement. Even if my son can't stand up completely in it, hubby and I can. So if we would ever get a tornado here, which we shouldn't, but if we did, then we have some place to go. And if we get the shed turned into the apartment like I want, then he can come up to the house if there's ever we need that for up here. We shouldn't, but you never know. The world is a strange place these days. My hubby was telling me that he read in the news that Alaska had its first ever heat advisory, which seems kind of crazy that Alaska would be under a heat advisory, but there you go. Okay, so I think that's everything from my regular life. Life was kind of boring this week. Didn't do a whole lot. Hubby did tell me he's going to make schnitzel for me today. We were going to have it last night, but then he waited too late, and I was like, I'm not really hungry. So he didn't make it, and then we ended up going for a Tim Hortons run at like 9 o'clock last night because he was hungry. So he was hungry, and I wanted one of their refresher drinks, so we went and got that last night. And I watched the guy at Tim Hortons make it, so I was like, I can make those myself now. No need to come to Tim Hortons anymore. I'll just make them myself at home. Anyway, okay, so that was regular life. Then, what's been going on in my diamond painting life? I think that's why my regular life was kind of boring because basically what I did this week was diamond paint. Not every day and not all day, but there were a couple of basically I parked myself in front of the TV and just diamond painted days because I wanted to get things finished. So I finished Shaman, which was my first kit for DP for Pets. So I was super excited about that. Not only that I finished it, but also I finished it before June 15th. So I had half the month left to work on other projects, which was amazing. I was afraid it was going to take me all month. And also, it was so gorgeous when I finished it. I can't believe that one has been sitting in my stash for 4 years. Again, part of the reason it sat so long is because I thought it was a square. I was avoiding it, but it turned out so, so good. And I love the color palette with all the pinks and everything. And then the grays and blacks of the horse. And just, I mean, I love the image to begin with. That's why I bought the kit. But it was just so pretty when it was all done. So super happy about that. Which meant, because I got it finished, that I could go on to work on my Spangler kit that I was behind on, and that was the afternoon tea kit. And I should have been working on, I think I actually did start working on it at the beginning of April, but I think I just did like a couple of days, maybe a couple of whip and chats with it, and then just kind of was concentrating on other stuff, just never really got back to it. So kind of my own fault that I didn't really get back to it, but and if you saw yesterday's video, you know that I also finished that one. So I managed to finish two relatively big size kits for DP for pets because I'm going to count the dragling, the afternoon tea, because it's a dragling. So I'm going to count that for an animal. Again, super excited with how well that one turned out. I think I said in the video for that one that I had kind of dreaded doing that one because there was so much pink on the pillow. And it just felt like that was going to be a lot of color blocking and just not a lot of fun. It turned out to be my favorite part of the piece. It was just so bright and colorful. So I don't know if I'm back in my flamingo phase again. I'm back to liking all things pink, but I had a ton of fun, way more fun than I thought I would doing it. So super happy about that too. And again, that's one of the older ones. I think the Spangler ones, I think I'm down to my oldest kits now are the Spanglers that I have left and my Heaven and Earth design ones, which I need to get to as well. I have one of them kitted up, but I haven't actually started laying any drills on it yet. So maybe that'll be something that I work on while I'm doing other things as well. I know when I was doing the Pegasus and the Muses that I got from Heaven and Earth that it was so big that I had to, and confetti heavy, that I had to kind of take it in short doses because it just got to be too much. But I also wasn't happy with the way that one was turning out, so that may have been part of it as well. I swear, sometimes the way these drills look, it's like they're not seated all the way, but then I press on them and it feels like they are. So this is a very tight grid, surprisingly. Not complaining, love it when they're tight, but this one is almost a little too tight. But that's okay. It'll look good when I'm done. So I finished Shaman, I finished Afternoon Tea. Again, two big kits in June that I finished, so I feel really accomplished. Probably still not going to get as many diamond painting hours as I want. In fact, I was just looking yesterday. I've been keeping track of my diamond painting hours since 2021. I did diamond painting in 2020, but I didn't really keep track of anything at that point. I didn't have the channel yet. I was just trying to decide if I even liked it as a hobby that I wanted to keep doing. But since then, so for the last 4 years, 5 years, I have been tracking how many hours I've put in. And after adding all of them up, I'm not even at the halfway point yet. So after 5 years, I'm not even at 5,000 hours of mastery, but I'm getting there. It's okay. I'll get there eventually because I will keep doing this. I did look at the new releases for Diamond Art Club this week. Somebody had left a comment that there was a new Spangler coming out that I would absolutely love, and they were right. I did love it. I didn't buy it, but it was so cute. The Draglings diamond painting and eating chocolate chip cookies. Who could say no to that? That sounds like an evening of delight, doesn't it? Chocolate chip cookies and diamond painting. So I didn't buy it. I didn't see anything else that I particularly wanted, but some of that too could just be the fact that I know I don't want to spend any money right now. So I'm just kind of half looking at things, knowing that I'm not going to spend any money on it. I've spent enough money the last couple months on just like tools and things that I haven't been super anxious to spend money on. So I finished those two things, and then I decided I was going to work on this one. I'm hoping to get this one finished and still have time to finish maybe one more thing in June. I don't know if I'm going to manage that, but I'm going to try. I'm getting distracted here because they're not fitting in the way I want them to. Also, it's been kind of annoying this last week. I don't know if YouTube's email is suddenly broken. And I've never gotten all of the comments that are left via email, but now I'm not getting any of them. And I can still go into my dashboard on YouTube Studio and find them that way. And occasionally this past week I've gotten one or two, but I mean, I'll think, gosh, I only got one or two comments, and then I go in and look and there's like 15. I just didn't get emails about any of the other ones, and I'm not sure why. I think YouTube broke something again. They probably pushed out some update I'm unaware of, and that broke things. Anyway, I can still see everybody's comments. I just have to go to a different place instead of them coming to my email, which is not a big deal. It's just, what is that? The only thing constant is change. So what was I talking about? Sorry, you guys, I'm so distracted. I've been working on some other projects. I still haven't found a kit that is super sparkly, that is super staticky. So I haven't finished all my static testing. I have some other testing I want to do that I'm still working on as well. I need to kit up something into my Forever Young tray so I can see how I like them. As you can see, I am in the middle of working with my art dot trays to see what I think of them. I have lots of thoughts that I'll be sharing with you after I finish this kit, since that's what these are kitted up into. I was actually just making some notes today on things I want to remember to include in that video. So lots of things going on, but I'm just in that weird in-between place right now where I'm doing lots of stuff, but it's still kind of behind the scenes, so I don't have a lot of stuff to show you guys yet, which is okay, I guess. Can't have everything exciting all the time, right? I want to get my customized bookshelf kitted up so I can work on that. A lot of you had a lot of good suggestions on ways that I could personalize it, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. My initial thought was to put family names on it, but I don't know. I really like the idea of putting like famous authors on it too. And I could find enough famous authors that I really like that I could fit them all on the books. I've got, what are there, 4 books, 5 books, I think. I've already got at least 3 names, if not more, in my head of authors that I could use. Shakespeare isn't going to fit on any of them, sadly, but I could put other names on there, so I may decide to do that instead of family names. I don't know. Also, people had good suggestions about using graph paper or something to plan it out beforehand. Somebody suggested that I scan in the area so I could see what the actual grid looked like, and then I could kind of plan out from that what I wanted to do, which I thought was a great suggestion. So not sure which one of them I'm going to do yet. Probably whatever's easier. Once upon a time I used to know where my graph paper is. I don't know if I brought any with us up here. Paper is heavy, so I didn't bring a lot of that with us because I didn't want to put that much weight in the trailer. We had enough other things going in there. I also got some other tools I haven't shared with you guys yet that I've been doing experiments with. I have thoughts on those as well. So yeah, like I said, lots of stuff kind of going on behind the scenes, but just not to a point where I'm ready to share any of it with you guys yet. I'm also trying to look ahead. Since I finished afternoon tea, then I can start working on customized bookshelf for July. So that's definitely something I'll be doing next month. And then I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. There's no real events, I don't think, that I'm planning on doing in July. So kind of have a little bit of time before we do our flower paint along in August. And then in September will be drills and chills that I have a kit I want to do. Oh, also coming up will be a stash update. That will be at the beginning part of July because that starts the 3rd quarter. So I need to do a quarterly stash update and see where I'm at. Hopefully I will have made a little bit of progress between now and then. I mean, I finished those 2 big canvases, but I also added like, I think 8 was what I ended up being last month because I got all those small art dot ones. Maybe I should have figured out a system where my bigger kits counted for more somehow. Like this, if it's over this size, it counts as 2 kits or something instead of just 1. Because I have some that are so big. And I have a couple that I want to get to, but then I have a couple that I'm like, oh, I really want to do this one, even though it's one of my newer ones. I think I know which big one I'm going to pick out for July, but we'll see. I'm very prone to changing my mind. I'll get it out and get it open and then be like, no, I'd rather do this other one. Let me do this one instead. Oh, you guys, I watched the most bizarre true crime story. What? Wait, did I watch it or was it a podcast? I think it was a podcast. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. There's one it's by a couple of Canadians called Dark Poutine. I've mentioned that before. You should check it out. I really like it. They do a lot of stuff about Canadian crimes, which is why I started listening to it. Occasionally they'll do what they call a road trip and they'll talk about crimes in some other place, but anyway, I can't remember if it was them or I listened to this one, I think it's called Cold Case Files, that has like this Australian narrator. The narrator has like an Australian accent, which cracks me up because they say things like skeletal remains instead of skeletal remains, which I guess after watching some UK ones, they say that the same way in the UK, but anyway, I digress again. The one that I was listening to, whichever one it was about this guy who lived with his dad. His dad was not very, he and his dad were not very close. And they never came out and said that the guy had special needs. Like he had a job and he worked and but he just lived with his dad and they didn't ever really explain. I mean, it sounded like his dad was in good health and everything, so I wasn't quite clear on why they were still living together. But anyway, his dad had been gone for a couple of days, and the guy had come home. He'd been to work and come home, and his dad had been gone for a couple of days, and he didn't know where his dad was. And he tried calling him a couple times, couldn't get a hold of him. He started to get worried that something had happened to his dad because his dad was older. So he called the police to report his dad as a missing person. The police came to the house and talked to the guy, did some searches for his dad, couldn't find his dad. And basically, the cop that was there was like, "You've killed your dad. We know you did it, blah, blah, blah." And they put him in this interrogation room, tried to get him to confess. He wouldn't confess. There was his dog. They threatened to have his dog put down if he didn't confess. So after like 3 days of this, where they would interrogate him and then put him in a holding cell and then interrogate him and then put him back in the holding cell, he finally just said, "Yeah, I did it." And then he was so distraught that he ended up getting put in a psych hospital for a weekend. The people at the hospital were told that nobody was allowed to come in and talk to him. No family, no friends, nobody except the police. So he was in there, it was like a long weekend. And on Sunday, one of the nurses comes in and says, "I know you're not supposed to talk to anyone," but she's like, "I can't, it's," and he said, "Well, okay, who is it?" And she said, "It's your dad." And so he was like, and me listening to it, was like, "What are you talking about? They said his dad was dead." It turns out that the dad had gone on vacation to a relative's house in another state. And the police had never bothered to check. The dad's phone had been left at home because he forgot it. But when they called his sister, who like lived in the next town over from where the dad and the son were, she's like, "Oh yeah, he was here for a couple of days and then he caught a plane. He's going to visit another relative in this place. He'll be back. You should be back by now." Nobody bothered to call her. And I was like, this poor kid. And he, like, literally, they had convinced him that he had done something to his dad. It was crazy. Of course, there were lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, but that's the first time I think that I've been listening to a podcast like that, and literally my jaw fell open when the nurse was like, "It's your dad." I was like, "Wait, what?" You couldn't write that. Like if you wrote that as a story, people would never believe you because it's so unbelievable. Truth is stranger than fiction, though. They are right. My husband and I have been getting into weird documentaries lately. We've been watching several different ones. I watched this one last night about a guy that was a mortician and he was running a crematorium and the things that they ended up finding out that he was doing. Just crazy. We also watched one about this guy that they thought had gotten rid of his wife. That one was not very satisfying because he ended up getting found not guilty, which I wasn't there. I didn't listen to all the testimony. Clearly, the jury didn't think that they had proved their case, but I watch some of those sometimes where it's about people back in the 50s and 60s, and it's like, oh, they just moved and gave themselves a new name, and it's like, you can't just pack up and move and do things like that. You can't just disappear like that anymore in this digital day and age. One of the things I was watching, they said something about how many cameras, CCTV cameras, the UK has. It was some ridiculous number. I want to say it was like 6 million or something, but then that doesn't seem like enough. Is that weird that 6 million cameras seems reasonable? I mean, for the size of the UK, but in the city, like the size of London with that many people, it's got to be more than 6 million, doesn't it? I would think. I do like all the ABs and everything that are in this kit. I think they're pretty, even if they are a little annoying to work with. I've been trying to do kind of sections of colors like you've been seeing me do, but these ABs, it's so tight that I really should do all the ABs first because they're just that little bit bigger. So if I wait to do them until the end, trying to get them all shoved in where they go can be a real challenge. So yeah, that was a lot of rambling about nothing. Sorry. Oh, you guys. A lot of rambling about nothing. Maybe that should be the title to my autobiography. A lot of rambling about nothing. No, that won't be the title, but anyway, I'm going to continue working on this kit. I'm pretty sure I can get this one done before the end of June. I should have enough days and time to get it finished so that I can finish one more project. I am kind of curious to see where I'm at with my stash because I think I'm getting to the point where I have so many big projects left. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that one yet. It's too big. Not yet, not yet, not yet. But I'm going to have to start doing some of them soon because that's all I'm going to have left. Okay, 3 more left. And then I think I will call that a whip and chat. Huge thank you to everybody who's been participating in DP for pets, the paint along that we've been doing. I'm absolutely loving seeing all the pictures that everyone is posting. And I've been trying to remember to post myself. I'm not always great about that, but I do try to go through and look at least at all of your stuff every day. So I've gotten a little bit done. I got some of the rainbow stuff here finished on this section, which means I should be done with some of these colors fairly soon because once I finish the rainbow, then I won't need those colors again, I don't think. I think 90% of this is black. This is the kit that I had this completely full. I've used some of it now out of here to refill my tray, but I still also have 2 bags of black left. So I started down here on this end because I knew I wanted to start where it was the least amount of black, at least, just to kind of ease myself into it, I guess. Maybe I should have started at the other end so I could be like, whew, okay, I got all that black done. Let me work with some colors now. But anyway, that's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.